The global economic battlefield is shifting. Trade wars are escalating. The world is bracing for impact. And the question remains, who will survive the storm? February 4th, 2025. A day that sent shockwaves through global markets. China, the world's dominant supplier of critical metals, announced sweeping export controls, targeting tungsten, thorium, bismuth, indium, and molybdenum. These elements are the backbone of modern technology, from smartphones and semiconductors to weapons and clean energy. And now, Beijing holds the key to their supply. But why now? The move came immediately after the US imposed an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods. A retaliatory strike, a power play, and it's not stopping there. The implications are catastrophic. The US defense sector, heavily reliant on tungsten for ammunition and armor, is now scrambling for alternatives. The semiconductor industry, already suffering from supply shortages, faces another devastating blow. And the solar industry? With China producing 75% of the world's refined thorium, global energy markets are on the verge of upheaval. And yet, China's retaliation doesn't stop with metals. The lawsuit against the US at the World Trade Organization, sanctions on American firms, and a tightening grip on rare earth minerals. This is just the beginning. While the US battles Beijing, another storm is brewing closer to home. Canada, America's closest ally, is on the verge of an unprecedented move, cutting off energy exports to the United States. Ontario Premier Doug Ford delivered the warning. We will go to the full extent, cutting off energy to Michigan, New York State, and Wisconsin. I don't want this to happen, but my number one job is to protect Ontarians and Canadians as a whole. Why would Canada take such drastic action? The answer lies in Washington. In a move that stunned its northern neighbor, the US slapped a 25% tariff on Canadian imports, with a 10% levy on oil. And Canada? It didn't take long to retaliate. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took the podium in a late-night address, announcing a counterstrike, 25% tariffs on $155 billion worth of American goods. We don't want this. We didn't ask for this, but we will not back down. The first wave of tariffs took effect immediately, hitting bourbon, fresh produce, consumer goods, and household appliances. The second wave, set to launch in 21 days, will target vehicles, steel, aerospace products, and even beef and pork exports. But that's not all. Canada's message is clear. This is an economic war, and they're urging citizens to join the fight. Buy Canadian. Ditch Florida orange juice. Skip Kentucky bourbon. Stay in Canada for vacation. The stakes are enormous. The US relies on Canada for 60% of its crude oil imports. The Midwest, heavily dependent on Canadian energy, could see gas prices soar by 40 to 70 cents per gallon. American refineries, built to process heavy crude from Alberta, will struggle to find replacements. And electricity shortages? Not out of the question. Meanwhile, Canada is wasting no time diversifying its markets. Japan is already preparing to receive its first major shipment of Canadian LNG, a move that could permanently shift global energy flows. And with Europe desperate to cut ties with Russian gas, Canada's energy exports could become the lifeline the continent needs. What happens next? The US economy could take a major hit. Analysts warn of layoffs, rising inflation, and declining GDP. If Trump's full trade war plan goes into effect, Midwestern states, Michigan, Illinois, and beyond, could suffer the most. But will Washington back down? Or will these retaliatory moves escalate into an all-out economic war? The world is watching. China holds the minerals, Canada holds the energy, and the United States, it's caught in the middle. What happens next could change global trade forever. Are we ready?